Welcome to the Unstoppable Profit Podcast. Wherever you are today, if you're starting with nothing or are well on your way to the success you desire, with the right people, processes, and promotions in place, you will be unstoppable. And now, I'd like to introduce your host, Mike Stromsoe.
Greetings, everybody. This is Mike Stromsoe coming to you live from the Living Agency Laboratory, and I am super excited about the next episode in the Unstoppable Profit Podcast, because I've got not only a good friend of mine, but a colleague who has helped me grow professionally and personally for over a decade. And I've been trying to twist his arm to get him on the podcast. Finally made it happen. I want to welcome to the podcast Mr. Dan Mulhern. Dan, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Hey, no problem. And what I want to talk about, just so everybody knows, what we're going to be talking about today is your brand and why your brand is super important in the evolution of your business, because it's critical. If you talk about the people, the processes, and the promotion, ultimately your brand has a play in all three. Would you agree, Dan?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to be clear. We have a brand guide. Dan's been a great partner in building brand guides over the years. And we have a brand guide. We know exactly who we are, exactly what we look like. It includes things like the fonts and colors and all of that. I mean, this color scheme, Dan helped us build all this out. So thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I wanted to get Dan on the podcast, and I want to begin to pick Dan's brain for all of your benefits. So make sure you have something to write with. Make sure you have something to write on. Take lots of notes. And as we encourage in UPP, only action is going to get you to the next win or the next lesson. So let's dig in today. And I'm gonna let Dan introduce himself. Dan, give us our listeners or viewers, because you may be watching this or you may just be listening to it. Give them a quick 2 to 3 minute history on who you are. You can go back to diapers if you want, high school, whatever you feel like sharing. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, where I usually start is, military family from the South. My whole family is from Northeast Louisiana for the most part. Both parents were in the military, have a twin sister. Moved around up until about the age 10. So lived in Germany, overseas during the Cold War in the 80s. Washington State, El Paso, Texas, to name a few. And at a young age, I was always kind of, I was always drawing. Didn't really have the patience with it at a young age, but I did get complimented a lot, like, oh, did your mother do that, or whatever it was. At school, there was a time they didn't believe that I had drawn the homework. And so I knew that from a young age that art was kind of a talent, ended up in California in 89. After high school, kind of dabbled in junior college, really didn't know what I wanted to do. My main passion then was music. I've written and recorded about 3 or 4 full-length albums, EP, still play guitar and write. Don't really play live anymore. After that golden age of opportunity, it's kind of a young man's deal, I think, at least to get your foot in the door. And at least with that kind of music, it was heavy metal. I decided I needed a plan B. So I went back to school, got a degree in art. After graduating, my choices were kind of like teach art, or I actually discovered graphic design. So I realized there was opportunity in commercial design. So I started a graphic design business in 2005. I started just by doing web interface designing and minor stuff like business cards and logos. And that just evolved over the years. And I, early on, I kind of said yes to everything, and got a lot of quivers in my cap because of that. And just kind of
call them lessons.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And then hang out and like, cool, we got to learn how to do that. So kind of learned along the way what I like doing, what my strengths are and weaknesses. And I've gotten to a point now where I feel like I have a pretty good a package and what services I offer and my expertise, having been around for quite a while now. And that's kind of where we're at now with Mulhern Design Co. It's kind of had some different variations over the years. I was Dan Mulhern Design for a while. I brought on a partner for a while and had a company called Excel Creative. Now I'm back to Mulhern Design Co. And I've got a sister company called Site Chisel, which is a website development and hosting company. And Mulhern Design Co. focuses more on design, print, consulting, and media. Such
Fantastic.
As yeah.
Well, good. Glad to have you on the podcast. I'm going to start digging into what you got going on up here. But before I go there, I wanted to share a quick little piece because this is where I can't remember if I said this in the intro, but I'll repeat it if I did. Dan Mulhern, at one point in a meeting that we had, changed my life personally and professionally forever. So we were at a local community business event, and it was a big room, and we kind of saw each other across the room. We were, friendly, business entrepreneurs like to talk about the latest thing and all that. So we got away from who we were talking to at the time, and I got over to Dan, and Dan was kind of walking towards me, and he goes, "How's it going?" I said, "Good, how are you?" And at that point, Dan had learned that I like to study and read and learn, and I knew the same thing about Dan. And Dan goes, "What are you reading right now?" And I looked up on my phone my latest book, and this is about a decade ago. And so he goes, I said, "What are you reading?" He goes, "I'm reading this book called The Compound Effect." And I said, "Really? I've never heard about that." He goes, I said, "Is it good?" He goes, "Oh my gosh, it's a game changer." So ultimately, at the end of the day, it's Mr. Dan Mulhern who introduced me to the compound effect. And that's a little secret about our history. And it's no secret at all anymore, obviously. But that book foundationalized my thinking on how important high quality habits are in the evolution of business, because it's those little things that we do day in and day out that are the key to either our next win or our next lesson, right, Dan?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you publicly for
no,
that introduction, and there's a long backstory behind that. So let's dig in today. Ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. So, Dan, why is branding so important for your business?
Well, I mean, I'll start out, as a business myself, starting out years ago. One thing that I realized early on was that I felt more confident as even just a sole proprietor in the marketplace by having strong branding. It was something that helped me kind of toot my own horn and be out in the marketplace and it gave me confidence. So I kind of saw early on how it could really help businesses, because it's so important in business for to have obviously confidence about your business and your services, but perception is everything as well. So when you're working out of your home office or whatever, you can pretty much do anything with branding. You can make it look like you're working out of a high rise, if you want to. So, but I mean, in a nutshell, I think it's one of the reasons it's very important is it helps you to increase your credibility. It obviously helps you stand out. If you have a very unique logo or unique catchphrase, that's going to help you stand out amongst your competition. It also shows that you're established. So if you are a lot of newer business, I mean, I've seen businesses that have been around for a while that still haven't figured, they still don't realize the importance of it. And, they just have a white business card with a name on it or whatever. And sometimes it works for them, but there's ways to really, with branding, that you can really stand out amongst your competition. In addition to that, it helps you explain what you do. And kind of going back to what I was talking about my own experience, when I started branding my own business and creating collateral for my products and services, it made it a lot easier for selling. When I was sitting with a potential client, rather than it coming from my mouth fully every time, I had collateral to go off of or a website to go off of that I could point to. And it's always easier, in my opinion, to point to a third-party reference when you're selling than having it come from your own mouth. So it kind of paints more of a picture, helps you tell more of a story about what it is, who it is that you are, and then the services that you provide. It can also add value to your company. So if you're the type of person that's looking to possibly build a company and sell it, it creates that perception that I mentioned. People are very visual. So if they see something that's, that's usually the first thing most people go off of, so they're going to add value to something based on visually how they perceive it. It also helps people remember you. That goes back into standing out amongst the competition. I think it's easier for people to potentially refer you. So if you have strategic partners, for example, so if one of my strategic partners would be like a vehicle wrap company. There's a lot of services that they don't do that I do. It makes it a little bit more confident for them to send a client my way if they can be proud in who they're sending that client to, not only just to me as a person, but visually what my company looks like and the values that I portray and all that. So it makes it easier for your strategic partners or just people in general to refer business to you. And I think in general, it just can help improve your whole marketing plan because it creates consistency and cohesiveness across all marketing channels. So, if depending on what kind of industry you're in, but we'll dictate the marketing strategies that you're doing. But you may be doing radio, you may be doing billboards, Facebook marketing, Google marketing. If all of your branding is consistent across the board, meaning your logos, they're prominent, same colors every time, taglines there, very consistent, that's going to help your overall marketing strategy as well. So I'll just kind of.
Absolutely amazing. I hope you were making notes, and if you weren't, go back and watch that part again, because he was dropping gold nugget after gold nugget, because ultimately at the end of the day, the 10,000 foot level is what people perceive is what they believe. And it's continuity and consistency of a brand that will make or sometimes not make a business, right, Dan?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, and facts tell and stories sell. So when you have a story to tell, it's okay to tell the same story again and again and again, because you're telling it to somebody different. That neutral third party piece that Dan talked about, absolutely gold. Absolutely gold. It's better to have that, because it's not what we say we've done for other people. It's what other people say we've already done for them, and telling that story. And that's how our brand supports what we're creating. And I could go on and on. Great stuff, Dan. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
So, Dan, how can branding generate new customers, or maybe reinvigorate or keep current ones alive?
Yeah, I think one way is that it shows potential customers that you are not just a fly-by-night company. It shows them that you're established. If they're, if you're going through, back in the old day, it was the phone book, but if you're on the internet now and you're going through websites now, people search in different ways. Some people are going to go straight to Google, and, depending on where you are in the results, people are going to search the different websites and all that. But some people are going to look on Facebook. Some people are going to, find it in a magazine. But at any rate, when they're comparing businesses and they're kind of going, should I go with this guy or this guy? It's usually, it's a perception thing and a visual thing. So the stronger your brand and the more trustworthy, I guess, that you come across, and the more appealing, the more of an opportunity you're going to have to land that potential client.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it doesn't have to be complicated, does it?
Not at all. Yeah. I mean, some of the best ones are simple. Some of the best branding is simple.
I have it right over there, but I'm not going to grab it because I don't want to squirrel on the situation. But there's a company that have a white box, and there's only one thing on the cover of that white box, a piece of fruit. Mm-hmm. They've been kind of successful.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But, you show that brand, you don't have to say a word. People know that it's Apple.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, the other reference I always use too is in terms of like services or products is In and Out. When I think In and Out, I think 1, 2, or 3. When I'm driving up to the drive-thru, or when I'm before, when you can walk inside, it's like, what am I going to get, a 1, 2, or 3? And it makes it easy. They have an efficient process. The more you can kind of be like that, it's obviously different in different industries. There's complexities and things like that, but the more you can kind of hone it down and make it a more of a fun and refined and simple process and easy to do business with you, the better off you're going to be. And that can all be strengthened by branding.
Absolutely. And their brand is iconic. rock solid, and their drive-through is constantly full of people wanting their product. It seems like all the time. And for those of you who are listening around the globe, if you don't know who In-N-Out is, they are an iconic basic hamburger, French fry, and shake or drink hamburger chain located in multiple states now. They're originally started in California, but they are iconic. They are a legend in their own right, but it starts with their people. And their people are second to none. I remember going through a drive-through at In-N-Out, and I drove up to the window. I'd ordered my number one, and she goes, "So what do you want today? You want some food?" I will never forget that. And she said it with a smile on her face. She was happy. So they've got the product, but they've also got the people. They've got all three Ps working together. Yeah, absolutely. And when your brand becomes that strong, it's just ingrained in people's heart and mind, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. So you talked a little bit earlier about business value, why having a great brand, either visually or internally, that operates like a breathing organism, if you will. But how does that really increase a business's value, and why is it important?
I mean, I think it's, the value it's going to potentially have more value in the marketplace because there's an impression in the marketplace that is made by the brand. So you've kind of made more of a footprint in the marketplace. You've also created a strong bond. It has the ability to create a strong bond with your own people, with your own employees. So it can help create a strong organization. Ultimately, it's the perception and the refinement. And, if you're looking to buy a business, you're going to want to get something that's more turnkey, than something that, that still needs work on it. It's kind of like going to buy a house, if it's got all the bells and whistles and it's got upgraded countertops and it's just like ready to go, that's always typically more appealing. I mean, obviously you got your contractors and your real estate agents that go, "Oh, I see this here and that there." But for the most part, to the average person, it's more appealing and it's more turnkey. I mean, that would be what I would.
And it has more of a following and it has a bigger list, right?
Yep.
And marketing size does matter, and the size of your list does matter.
Right.
And to what you were talking about, the other thing is your brand, if you will, creates a culture within your business. And it's at the backbone, it's like one of your arms, right? Of your business.
Yep. Yeah. And it's just a kind of an easy, I think going into a business that's been well branded it would be an easier transition, to kind of fall into, because like I said, you're kind of rooted out in the marketplace already. You've got systems in place. You kind of have that identity. So it's like easier for someone to come in and assume that identity, versus having to find it,
Right. It's a turnkey $1 million check maybe, right? Or more.
Right.
Or multi-million-dollar check.
Exactly.
Because we've got this brand and we've got the business built behind the brand, and we've got a P&L to support that. And on we go.
Right.
Fantastic. That is great stuff. So what are some of the perks? And we've talked a little bit about this, but let's dig in on this a little bit more. So what are some of the perks internally for having a strong brand?
I'd say one of them is, a part of branding is discovering your vision, your values, that piece of it. So in that process of branding, it's kind of a process of discovery. And as you establish that, it becomes prominent in the minds of your organization, and it helps to paint that picture and tell that story of not only who you are to the marketplace, but it helps to tell the story internally, like who we are. This is who we are. This is our mission. These are our values. This is what we look like, and we're proud of it. And here we are. And then it's a kind of that gets that attitude and all that gets reinforced from the branding, and then that reflects out into the marketplace and when people are dealing with you, et cetera. It goes back into that confidence thing, could be the single guy that's, the painter that just is really proud of his logo, and he has nice business cards, nice website, and he's like, this is my business, I'm proud of it, I built it, this is who I am. And that resonates with people, and all the way from one person all the way up to a complete organization.
Absolutely. And then what happens after that is something that happened in our own agency business. Thank you for your support. Is we've developed our core values, which ultimately at the end of the day, now we find within our organization, us talking about our core values all the time, including the praise and recognition aspect when our team members get a Google review as an example. That was a great Google review, and it supports core value number 2 through and through.
Right.
It begins to permeate. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. And it becomes, I think, easier to attract the right people, because, like attracts like. So, right. So as you define who you are, you're attracting potentially those types of people to you. It also helps you retain them, because it shows that you're here to stay, kind of like the same thing that it's showing to the marketplace. Like, hey, this is who we are. We're here to stay. We're established. It kind of paints that same message to your employees that you're here.
Yeah.
Not going
we have a new teammate that started just 2 or 3 weeks ago, and this teammate has a specific function on our team of reaching out to our customers by phone.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a lost art in the realm of some. And
right.
So picking up the phone and speaking with people, and they go, we just started doing business with you within the last 12 months. We've never, ever received a phone call from our other companies or agents in the past. Why do you guys do this? And I was so happy when she gave her end of the day report. She said, I told them it's the Stromsoe way,
Mm-hmm.
which is part of our brand and part of our core values, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you. It just permeates throughout the organization, and it makes a difference. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it separates you from the competition, right?
It really does. And it's, different people can learn. Obviously, different people learn different ways. And there are going to be employees that just get who you are just by your mission statement. But there's going to be other employees that get who you are because they see that beautiful piece on the wall with happy customers, and there's a testimonial. So it's a way to communicate that on a bunch of different in a bunch of different ways to really make a full impact to your organization, rather than just having a mission statement on the wall.
Yeah, and what does that mean? So,
right.
As a takeaway tip, also for anybody who might be watching in or listening to this, we read our promise. Some call it a mission statement, we call it a promise, but when we have a team interaction of any kind, we read our promise to start the meeting. So important. It's that constant reminder, and that's what a brand does for you as well, right, Dan?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it reminds people consistently of who you are, what you're all about, because at the end of the day, this noisy, polluted, crazy world that has 20,000 or more messages coming at us every single day, it's going to get lost. So it needs constant repeating, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of like a lighthouse, it's kind of like a, I'll do it sometimes where I'll review my own website before I get on a call, just to kind of recenter, okay, this is who I am. These are my services, the pricing, all that stuff. It kind of puts me in that zone, so it definitely helps to do that.
That's fantastic. That's a great segue to what I want to ask you next, because, reviewing the website, looking at this, having this available to point to the third party to tell the story, facts tell, stories sell. So why is a brand standards guide important, and how beneficial is it and crucial to the ultimate profitable success of a business, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely important in the fact that it helps you. It is that lighthouse. It's that stable ground that that you need to be on in terms of who you are and your brand. It does things like things like how to use your logo, how not to use your logo, what fonts you need to use. So it's an internal guide for your team on how your brand should be represented. It's also a great tool for when you're dealing with outside vendors. So for example, if you're working with a local magazine or you need to get a billboard done or whatever, anytime you're dealing with a third-party vendor like that, you send them your brand standards document along with your logo files and fonts and all that. And it's basically saying, hey, this is my brand and this is how it should be represented, and don't deviate from that.
Right.
It's a guide, basically. So you maintain that consistency out there, not only internally, but in the marketplace. And I think, what was the second part of your question?
Yeah, and let me kind of set the table even further with this, because as many of you may or may not be aware of, one of the biggest shifts for me mentally in the evolution of an entrepreneur was when I was sitting there at a learning event and I started saying, these people have it all figured out. I'm just going to become a massive implementer and just start taking action. That was the day a lot of stuff changed for me. So what happened in the branding world, and kind of where Dan and our team started working together more, was when a lot of people said, hey, Mike, we see you out here and we see you here and we see you here. And, we created the persona for marketing and all this kind of stuff, but nothing is congruent. It's like a psychedelic picture. Who the heck are you?
Mm-hmm.
And that was our learning point, where we thought, we need to have a guide. We need to have a platform that is, synonymous, that has the fonts, that has the colors and everything else that you were talking about. And it's really when we did that we took the next step, or the steps up. So how is that beneficial? By having that, core document, if you will, and somebody to work with to continue to improve the document, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it reinforces all the things we've talked about previously. All the reasons why branding is important to your business. That document is a tool to help you maintain that, and to continue to have that strong brand presence and continue to I lost what I was going to say there.
It's just like, one of the core operational documents for the promotional realm in a successful, profitable business. Would you agree?
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. It's I think I said what I needed to say about it in terms of, it basically is it's kind of a roadmap of who your business is, what it should look like, so that you can know internally who you are, and then also maintain that image out in the marketplace.
Well, and the thing is, it's hard to explain, I know, because every business is different. The roadmap for every business is different. And I know you well enough. I know what you do is you ask a lot of questions, you get to know the business really, really well, and then you begin to draw it.
Right.
And it's different for everyone. So, the artist side, which is not my side, I'm an action guy, is the creative, and you draw it out and you customize it for every business.
Right.
Correct?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it is hard sometimes to explain, but it's very easy to show. And one of the other reasons that I've observed, Dan, and I'd like you to comment on this, is we live in a very visual society. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. I mean, imagine this. Picture this. So that's another reason that it's important to have a very solid brand and a documented brand guide.
Yeah, almost more important than ever, just because we're so bombarded with media. There's so much noise out there that it's imperative to have consistency. It's imperative to have the brand that stands out amongst all that noise, but also stays consistent.
Right.
Yeah, and like to play off what you said earlier about, I remember when you had the different things going on and all that, and it's confusing not only for people trying to figure out who you are as a company and what you do, but it also creates that confusion internally. It goes back to that whole thing as well. It's like, well, who are we? Do we do this? We do this. We have this logo over here, And then we have this other logo over here. Which one's our logo? And, what are our colors? And which one's our mission statement? What version of it? All that stuff. That stuff should be set. And you should be working on doing your business and what you're good at.
And we have this thing that we say in the entrepreneurial realm, and I'm not sure if I've shared this with you, so I want to exercise the law of reciprocity. As entrepreneurs, we should only be doing the things that only we can do.
Right.
And we should be handing over the rest, or empowering, as we like to say nowadays, somebody else to take care of those things.
Yep.
So nowadays, we have two logos. We have this one, which is our agency logo, and then we have this one, which is our UPP logo, and that's it. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
So anyway, great stuff, and we do keep it simple. It's simple. These are our core values. This is who we are, and this is how we operate. We have our branding guide now, which is behind, it's just an extension, if you will, an arm of our promotional realm, and it's great stuff. And now all we got to do is keep taking action and doing our marketplace research and everything else, which you help us with. Thank you for that, Dan. So as we begin to wrap up today, I want to run back to your places in the world that you've lived, and I've got one specific that I'd like to bounce back to. But anything else to add? About brand guides and why they're so important, or just how is it important to a business nowadays?
Yeah, there's a lot of working parts to a business nowadays in terms of marketing. Not too long ago in history, you would have a business card, maybe an ad in the yellow paper or the yellow book, maybe a brochure, maybe a TV commercial. Now, you've got all these different mediums that you need to be on, to be competitive. Social media, all the old ones plus a bunch of new ones, basically. So that is another reason that you need not only a strong brand, but you need that brand standards document to keep all of those platforms consistent. So you don't want to look one way on Facebook and then have a billboard over here looking this other way. You want all of those pieces working together. That's gonna create an image in people's minds. Not only immediately, in some cases direct response, but over time, and it's going to be something they're going to remember.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, it makes your life simpler. Would you agree?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You've only got one brand that you need to promote. You're just promoting it in 12 different places all at once.
Right.
And then depending on where people are looking, they see the same thing, inconsistency.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts becoming etched in their mind.
Right.
That is fantastic. So, Dan, your original roots go back to the Bayou. Mm-hmm. And so you were not dropping a bunch of places in the beginning here that you've lived and you moved to, so forth and so on. But your roots rest in the Bayou, and across the highway was a lake, right?
That's right.
So you grew up in Louisiana and the Bayou State?
Well, every summer. My parents were military, so I was back there every summer. So all my great memories from my childhood were from Louisiana, Northeast Louisiana. So if you're familiar with Duck Dynasty, I was born in a hospital about a mile from their headquarters. So, I don't personally know any of them, but some of their family goes to the family of some of my family. So, and I have family that know some of them. So that'll give you, I say that because that gives you kind of an idea of the type of people, good people, good, wholesome, funny people in a lot of cases. Yeah, I love Louisiana. I don't think I'd want to live there, but I do love going back to visit. It's definitely a different culture, different lifestyle. You feel like you get off the plane and kind of go in slow motion once you get off the plane.
Yeah, I remember. I've been down there a couple of times. So
yeah, so
that's great stuff. Dan Mulhern, thank you so much for sharing all the incredible gold nuggets about a brand and why it's important, and really what it has to do with the people, the processes, the promotion in building your business and ultimately making you more profitable and having a simpler operating platform and a stronger selling machine, and on and on and on. Dan, thanks for the time today.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Mike. It was an honor.
Yeah. So, Dan, if anybody is listening and or can't write this down, go ahead and drop your phone number and your website just for the heck of it.
Sure. Phone number is 951-764-3696. I'm located in Southern California, and the website is mulherndesignco.com. So if it's spelled just like it is back there on the wall, mulherndesignco.com, and that has all the information you would need on there.
All right, fantastic. So if there's any questions you have for Dan, just look him up, get a hold of him, and make sure you remind him that you heard or saw him on the Unstoppable Profit podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us today. And until then, the only way that you're going to achieve your next win or lesson is to get out there and take action. And until then, make a difference, be unstoppable, leave no regrets, and make sure that you subscribe to our podcast channel at unstoppableprofitpodcast.com. That's unstoppableprofitpodcast.com. Make sure you subscribe. That way you won't miss any of the game-changing information that we share on these podcasts. And please share this with anybody you know who might need or be able to use some of the gold nuggets on this podcast or any of the others. And until then, get out there, again, make a difference, be unstoppable, leave no regrets. We'll see you on the next episode. Dan, thanks again today, buddy.
Thanks again. Bye, everybody.
All right, see you guys.
Thank you for listening. If you would like to listen to more episodes or share this podcast with someone you care about, please visit www.unstoppableprofitpodcast.com. Now go out and make a difference. Be unstoppable and leave no regrets.